Being 6:15, I call to order the City of Glenwood Springs City Council meeting. It is May 1st, 2026. Good evening, everyone. Let's start with a roll call. Ryan, please.
Mayor Dane,
Here.
Councillor Townsley, Mayor Pro Tem Zelensky, Councillor Weimer,
Here.
Councillor Schechter, Councillor Smith. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ryan. Any changes to the agenda? I hear none. We'll move on to item 3. Any conflict of interests tonight from any councillor? Also see none. Get that behind us. Item 4, citizens appearing before council and council response for items that are not on the agenda. Is anybody here tonight that would like to speak? You guys take turns. Whoever wants to come first, go for it. Please step up to the lectern and state your name and whether you live in city limits or not.
Sure. My name is Judy Haynes and I live in the city limits.
Thank you very much.
Quick question. On April, I think 28th, the Planning and Zoning Commission, sorry, I'm wearing a mask. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay.
Yes.
COVID's back going around. I've had 3 cancellations today. Anyway, Planning and Zoning Commission did revoke the permit, special use permit for ICE to continue operating at 100 Midland. And I don't think they had any response to that revocation yet. And my question is, what are you going to do about now that it's revoked? What will be your response?
Okay, that was it. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna refer to legal on that because it's a little dicey, so we'll have a legal response.
Well, if you watch the hearing, you know that I was very clear at the hearing that while have the authority to revoke underneath our local laws and jurisdiction, the reality is the federal government is not actually subject and doesn't have to abide by those. There's a lot of authority, both case law and statutory for that. I will be getting you guys the full legal analysis of that, but the short version is that even if we tried to judicially enforce, we likely would not survive a motion to dismiss, and there would be an open question of whether or not that was a frivolous and groundless claim to bring, knowing the condition of the supremacy clause as it relates to those things. So while we followed through on our authority locally, we can't force the federal government to do anything in this regard.
Okay, thank you. I hope that satisfies what you needed to hear, and we're not gonna answer any of this or take a statement to that, so. Unfortunately, your time's up, but thank you very much for being here. Once you step away, we're kind of done, but maybe next time. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Yes, thanks.
You could also email questions.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Next, please. Who else is here? Please come forward, state your name and whether you live in city limits or not.
I'm Miles Rovig, and I do live in the city limits.
Thank you.
I'm here for 3 things. One is I want to thank you for your service. I know what it is to commit that kind of time to get this done. And number 2, I want to give a shout out to Nick Adams, the recreation director. I'm not sure if that's his right title or not, but they have grandkids and they're involved in a lot of things. And Nick has transformed the recreation department. And it's just been marvelous to see all the kids on the fields, good fields. And I think that's great. Third thing is a little more negative. I was shocked by hearing that you withdrew from participation in Trident Spear. I think that with the legacy of that group of folks who have done really good work for the last 32 years approximately, I don't understand why you would do that. I have spoken with Mr. Schmall briefly before he went off to Minnesota. Got a little bit of background, but not enough. So I'm not with good ammunition tonight, but I just wanted to voice an opinion that indicates that that I don't think you should have done that. 2 examples. I owned a shopping center here a while ago, had a real problem with MS-13. tagging buildings, found out that they were recruiting kids in the junior high school right across the alleyway. And the school resource officer, along with others, got involved with that all the way from Carbondale down to Rifle. And they helped minimize that problem. And I don't think the police chief of Rifle, Glenwood, or Carbondale could have done that themselves. So it was a concerted, collaborative effort to take care of that. The next item of example was Up Valley. About 20 years ago, there was a roundup of folks who had lived up there a long time for selling drugs and other kinds of activities. They were rounded up. 7 of the 8 were sent off to jail, I understand. And that again was a collaborative effort that actually started out of Grand Junction. So it is difficult for me to understand how you are going to stand alone and expect your police department, who I think have done a good job, to continue to combat the extra forces that are out there and around us. So I would ask,
That's your
please
time.
revisit.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Thank you for being here tonight. Any response from council to that? If you want to or not. Let's see here. Councillor Schachter, please.
Very quickly, Miles, I'll give you my perception of the action. It may not be everybody's. It was a long deliberation, including our chief of public safety, our attorney, and our manager. And my understanding was 2 or 3-fold. Number one, and this does not downplay the effectiveness of the predecessor Trident, which you referred to for drug enforcement, and nor some of the effectiveness of Spear. However, my understanding is when we were asked again to formalize our participation through our memorandum of understanding, we had some concern about compliance with state law, and I believe another community did as well, and there was no give and take in that, and we felt that we were put in a position where we may not be in compliance with state law. We also felt that our local police force is outstanding, and there still will be interagency cooperation when the need arises. So it was not an easy decision, but that was some of the background that I understood it to be.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight.
Do I get to respond?
No, you do not. Unfortunately, you don't. That's not, it's not a discussion, but if you'd like to reach out to any of us,
Yeah.
email, give us a call or whatever.
I'll-
All right.
I know folks here and they're wonderful people, and if I need to talk to them, I can call them.
I think that'd be great. Yes.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? See none, we'll close the public portion of this and move into council announcements. We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Selinsky, please.
Okay. I don't normally do this, but I had kind of a busy couple of weeks that I thought it'd be fun to tell you about. So the first, I spent a little bit of time walking along 3 Mile, the Atchison Trail, just kind of observing activity around 3 Mile Creek. Right now there's a fishing closure, and that closure is because of the spawning season that goes until the end of May. But I've recently learned that that extends not just for fishing, but it's to protect the little fishing nests, you know, that are down in the rocks. And so when we let our dogs run in the water, we disrupt those nests. When we wade in there and let our kids play in there. So I'm just like encouraging people to just, you know, become a little bit more informed. Maybe just like hold off on jumping in the river and the creek. It's mostly 3 Mile Creek. And then it's the 50 feet at either end of the confluence of the 3 Mile and the Roaring Fork. So if we could just like give them a couple more weeks to let their little eggs hatch and propagate, then, you know, we can move on and I'll enjoy the rivers. Then on Sunday, I was out at the airport and for an event with the Young Eagles, which was amazing. So that's, we got a lot of, I think 60 kids got to fly, something like that. Maybe 50, maybe it was 50, but we had 6 pilots, planes going all morning, a lot of young people got to fly, got to bring their parents on their first flight. In addition, there's a simulator on site. So when they weren't flying, they got to sit in the simulator. So it was just a really good community event to kind of introduce aviation to a bunch of young people. There will be a week-long aviation camp in July that's aimed towards middle schoolers, but there's also going to be another program up in Aspen that's aimed more towards high schoolers. So if anybody in the community is interested in aviation, there's local opportunities. CMC and the high school are both putting on ground school courses. So there's a lot happening out there. In addition to that, I'll be attending the Colorado Airport Operator Association of Airport Operators Conference in Pueblo next month. And that is in anticipation of Glenwood Springs hosting the same event in 2027. So that's coming up. And then participating in the Rapid Board Summit. And that's about it.
It does sound busy. Thank you. Any other announcements? Counselor Smith.
Thank you. Colorado Communities for Climate Action Board, which is a big outfit, will have its annual meeting June 10 to 12 in Vail. This one being a round number anniversary for the organization. They're going to do, besides doing planning and vision for the whole coming year, on Friday, the first night, June 10th, they're going to have a reception for former representatives to the board, and have invited those folks from the various communities to attend. So it's a chance for you to attend. Anyone here would be welcome. Any council members are welcome to attend, as well as interested staff. But if you particularly want to run into Shelley Cobb, Jonathan Godis, or Paula Stepp, they're likely to be there that night to be honored as former participants in that board. The Garfield Clean Energy Board met on Friday, and among some other updates, had a whole string of grant awards that were successful. They received a collective grant for all the communities that are members of that GCE from the Colorado Energy Office for $2 million, which will include some construction installation funds that may well go, among other things, to installing solar panels on City of Glenwood Springs electric building. So we're going to be working on getting that money to move to the next phase. Also, we might remember the City Council approved on our meeting on March 19th, use of one of the parking spaces in the downtown parking garage for an electric vehicle car share car. That grant got approved also just a day before the board meeting. So that will be cranking up. It's not going to be fully installed until December, but it's underway. On Tuesday, 3 of us from Glenwood Springs City participated in some traffic overflights. Clear. I can't remember what CLEAR stands for anymore, but CLEAR and EcoFlight put together these flights early morning. Our city engineer and our city transportation engineer and I each got to go on flights at different times of the morning to see the patterns of that commuter rush hour between Rifle and DeSalt, basically. It was pretty revealing, a pretty remarkable visual experience. And I was really glad that we had staff there because they could really watch it more thoughtfully. The Valley-wide Trails Working Group that's tried to develop safety policies and for trails along the full length of the Rio Grande Trail, and particularly to figure out what to do about the evolving technology of electric assist bicycles, met again this afternoon and are making some pretty good progress, learning a lot from other communities, and should have some pretty good collective policies to propose. Finally, at the last minute, I was at the rec center this morning and found out that on June 6th, there's going to be a summer kickoff big deal party all afternoon, evening, 3 o'clock till 9 o'clock, and you are not invited. It is specifically for It is specifically for 6th to 12th graders from 3 till 9, the last day of school, go to the rec center, have a party, have raffle prizes, sign up for free summer passes, food trucks, mechanical bull, bands all evening. It sounds like quite a blast. It is all about kids. So I thought it was a very creative thing to run across this morning. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Any other announcements? See none. I got a quick one, and I'm a couple of weeks early, but I'm going to say it now, and then also first meeting of June. But June 10th, we have our wildfire preparedness and state of public safety meeting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's at the community center. It's at the community center on Wolfson Road. Starts at 5:30 with snacks and dinner, and it officially kicks off at 6 p.m., 6 to 8. So anybody that's interesting to know or learn what's going on in the city about public safety, please stop by. If I see nothing else, we'll move into the consent agenda. Item 6 tonight. Let's see, the items on the consent agenda tonight are the May 7th, 2026 council minutes, the award request for proposal 2026 11P Soccer Field Road improvements, award request for proposal 2026 12P Mitchell Creek Substation and Electric Department Storage Yard expansion, and the resolution 2026-08, authority to apply for a Safe Streets for All grant for the Midland Avenue, Wolfson Avenue roundabout. And I am entertaining a motion. Let's see. Mayor Pro Tem Solinsky, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as written and stated by Mayor Dane.
Thank you. And I need a second. Councilor Weimer?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? See none, I'll call for the question. Ryan, please.
It passes unanimous.
Thank you. Moving into our first action and or presentation. Item 7 on the agenda tonight is a project update, and I believe that will be Ryan Gordon, our city engineer.
He's just, not, it's just not gonna look over.
What was this now?
You didn't know he has a timer.
Oh, I'm ready. If I can get my presentation up,
All right.
don't start it until I get there.
That's the
Give me-
bigger challenge, right, Ryan?
It is a bigger challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, not fair. All right.
Exactly.
Good evening, Council. Ryan Gordon, City Engineer. As Mayor Dim said, the project update for this year. So it's timely. We got a lot started and a lot starting. So this is the overall map. As before, the blue are design elements and the red are construction. I got some other things I'll go into detail. A few things kind of to point out that are relatively newish that may have kind of popped up as things sort of evolve as we go along. A couple of things that are kind of new to you guys from the last update. So 5th Street Mill and Overlay. So that's the intersection of 5th and Olive. We're going to be doing some mill and overlay of those roads. They're kind of falling apart. We have some grander plans for North Glenwood, but until we get to that point, we're going to do some spot repairs, some Band-Aids, so to speak, on some of the worst parts to make sure our roads aren't falling apart up there. A little bit further, just south of that, so on 6th Street, one of the elements that we weren't able to accomplish last year was extending and connecting the raw water line from our existing raw water system to the raw water line we installed as part of the 6th Street project. So our water group last week completed that work out there, which is great. Now we have raw water that we can get into the North Landing Park. So we're not using potable water for that new irrigation. So that's a really great step. And then later in this fall, in the same area on 6th Street, in front of the Hotel Colorado, we're going to be doing some stormwater improvements. Again, trying to get ahead of the curve for what's coming on for the North Glenwood area. This, in fact, is a teaming opportunity with the Hot Springs Pool. They had some sidewalks and some ramps that needed to be replaced. They had some other elements in the area. And so we kind of teamed up together, again, kind of make one big mess together as opposed to two individuals doing it separately. So that's going to happen after Labor Day. So that will be an intermittent road closure depending on where we are. We have some stormwater facilities we're upgrading that will require some traffic control in the area. I think that probably takes care of the ones that you don't know, but just kind of go quickly through some of these other ones. And in particular, the ones that are either ongoing or are starting very, very soon. So June 4th is a big day. Why is that a big day? Well, it's the day after school is out, but actually more importantly for us, it's the day when we start really going crazy in our projects. It's because all of our projects, the big ones, are around schools. So Coach Miller Drive, June 4th, the road will be entirely shut down for all traffic. So that project, again, from June 4th through the middle of August, that road will be shut down for that, all those improvements. Over on Soccer Field Road, it won't be quite so impactful, but again, over there, we're adding some sidewalk. Again, starting June 4th, that should last through maybe the middle of July. It's a lot less intensive there, so we should be able to get that wrapped up relatively soon. The other project that we are starting, not June 4th, but actually more like June 1st, which is a Monday, which is the more reasonable time to start a project. 19th Street over here, 19th Street between Grand Avenue and Blake. We are doing stormwater, new sewer lines, new road surface, curb and gutter. But again, 19th Street will be entirely shut down for the duration. That's probably June through sometime in September, depending on what we find underground. Those are the big capital projects. And one piece of the Soccer Field Road that I didn't mention is the area is 9th Street. So on 9th Street between Bennett and Garfield, we're going to be doing a mill and overlay or a full road replacement. It was one of the roadway sections that was identified in our PASER analysis, with our road analysis model that we did as failing. And so we're going to go in there and fix that small section of road. You know, I'll just touch briefly on a few other things. Earlier this week, we had a RFP. Well, we had our pre-proposal meeting for an RFP we issued for the redesign of Glenwood Park. Had great turnout. We had 9 consultants who attended to look at that. So that's going to kick off here relatively soon. Our idea on that is to get the designs done by this year and then be in the position to bid out any of that work next year, depending on funding, if we want to chase grants or whatever else, but at least have that in our back pocket. And some other design work, again, on South Grand Avenue, we have a pedestrian improvement project that we're looking from the Cardiff Bridge to the end of the cemetery. Mitchell Creek, we're looking at some redesign of some culverts to kind of help out with some floodplain issues. And then you mentioned on the consent agenda, the Wolfson and Midland Avenue roundabout. We're going after a Safe Streets for All grant. We actually found out some good news a while ago. We had secured a HSIP. It's a Highway Safety Improvement Program. I think it's HSIP. I don't know these acronyms. I can make them up and you wouldn't have any better idea, right? Anyway, the long of it is we secured, this is when Terry Parch was here. Her team secured a $1 million grant that was for some safety improvements on Highway 82. It just didn't really fit for what we were trying to do. So we were able to reallocate that $1 million to the roundabout project. So it's a great first step in getting that funded. And on that Safe Streets for All grant, we're actually teaming with RAFTA to go after it as a team. So it's going to be a great project overall. The last thing on the design I have on here is the 7th, 8th Midland Cowden neighborhood design. That's still on our list, and we're doing some work in-house. And so that may be issued later this fall or early next year for design, that concept. So done with the map. I kind of walked through all this. I guess I probably should have went to this screen, but who wants to look at words? I'm just going to skip through this because I just discussed all this, but I'm happy to go back to dates if you guys want. So Highway 6 and 24, I didn't mention that, but that's our ongoing project right now. So a few photos, and I'll let you know where we are here on the project. But we have, the project is a 10-foot wide concrete trail, multi-use path, and then of course this curb and gutter that you're seeing. The photo on the bottom right is looking towards the west. So right now we have most of the curb and gutter and sidewalk in. The photo on the upper left, and then I get a few others, are current construction. So the one on the upper left that you're looking at is looking to the west. Using this cool machine to put down the concrete. Instead of forming it up by hand, the machine does it all for you. It takes a little more prep work, But luckily we have a really long stretch. And just for an example of how efficient this type of machine is, we got 1,100 linear feet of sidewalk done in one day. So that's a lot. That's a lot of concrete. Was it me? Hey, you, Joseph?
Okay, that's something new. Huh? We're on it? Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the info. Sorry for the interruption, but
It's okay. I'm not offended. Bottom right-hand corner is looking from Trevor Trail back to the west. This is where we're ending as of this week. So, in order to get all this done, we had to have Highway 6 and 24 one lane, and it had a signal. That signal is being removed later today, tomorrow. And so for the Memorial Day weekend, traffic will be back to 2 lanes. We do have cones along the edge of the road on the new curb and gutter. But again, the roadway should be open for 2-way traffic for the holiday weekend. And other construction impacts here is now we're starting to move in kind of a more tricky spot. So the Devereaux intersection with Highway 6 and 24, we have some water line work. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but we've been talking to Iron Mountain Hot Springs and a bunch of others to try to coordinate that effort. But this project is moving right along, and we look to be completed, contractually sometime in August. But I knock on wood, will be well ahead of that. So it's starting to really come together on this project. So with a little bit some of the details, right? So again, we have 1,150 linear feet of the 1,500 feet of the water line installed, 3 of the 4 fire hydrants, 3,000 linear feet of the sidewalk, the multi-use trail, again 3,000 linear feet of the curb and gutter, 3,000 to 4,000 linear feet of the conduit. So again, we're really cruising right along and doing really well. So with that, more photos. This is over at 10 in front of the Hotel Colorado. This is the patch for the raw water line, but then this is the same area that we're going to have that stormwater work. This is the roadway at Fifth Street that I mentioned that needs repaired. And I think with that, all right, I thought I had the questions thing a little bit earlier, but here we are with questions.
There
Any
we are.
questions or comments on what we're doing?
excellent. Thank you, Ryan. Informative as always. Any questions to Ryan at this point? Let's see. Steve Smith, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Ryan, did I follow correctly? The 19th Street Center of the Earth to the Surface project will take till September?
That's possible, yeah. We're still working through the exploratory phase of that. We just did potholing to locate some utilities. So I think that's kind of the worst case scenario with regards to 19th Street. So I think we're going to try to do much better than that, but it could take as long as that.
And I assume you've long since worked out an alternate ambulance route that will be of proper surface and work.
Yeah, that's correct. We've had multiple meetings with Valley View, but then also have had discussions with all the EMS providers.
Great. I think also on the calendar from your description of 6 and 24 that the shared use path will not be open in time for Strawberry Days.
Yes, that is correct. It will not be open for Strawberry Days.
Okay. And for the Coach Miller project where the street itself, and I think you told us earlier, 14th as well, will be closed. Will there still be bicycle pedestrian access to the river trail from, say, Polo Park?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the sidewalk itself, we're going to be removing a few panels to do some stormwater work, but generally speaking, that trail, the sidewalk that gets to the Rio Grande Trail will be open.
Cool.
The parking lot, just to be aware of, which is in the construction zone, will not be open for anybody. So folks that are going to go down to Lone Tree Park or the adjacent dog park, will have to park on the street in the park neighborhood and walk down there. Or another alternative is, park someplace on Pitkin and just join onto the Rio Grande Trail and it's a little bit longer of a stroll.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Councilor Weimer.
I would just also, you could park in sort of that back corner of the thrift store parking lot that just went in.
Yeah,
Super easy access to the trail from that.
it's a good point. Absolutely.
Okay,
For what it's worth.
thank you. Any other questions? So I'm curious, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of construction. How are we paying for this?
So depending on which project, so the 6 and 24 project, for example, we have a $750,000 grant from CDOT.
Excellent.
We received, let me try to get them all correct here because we got quite a bunch. The Coach Miller project, we got $200,000 from DOLA.
Nice,
19th Street, we had $250,000 from Garfield County FMLD.
nice.
And then Soccer Field Road, and then the rest of them are either being backfilled with, depending on if we're doing water lines, those are paid from the various enterprise funds, and then the street infrastructure fund, the 2A money is paying for a good chunk of the
That's
rest.
the heavy lift.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. That's what I'd like to hear. So thank you very much for that. Any other questions to Ryan? Okay, anybody from the public like to comment on the projects, project updates? No? All right, excellent. We'll move on. Thank you, Ryan.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
could I
Steve?
ask a favor and
Yeah.
switch up the order a little bit and have Chief do his presentation next?
Sure, absolutely. And let me see if oh, that's that item 9, right? Okay, let me do this officially. Let's move into item 9, which we're moving up. Resolution 2026-09, sole source for police body cameras and related technology. Well, let me see if everyone's on board.
No, okay.
Okay. I will eat them all tonight, I have the feeling. That's one I'm looking for. Is that bad?
Good evening, council, city attorney, Mr. Boyd, Joseph Darris, chief of public safety. Thank you for moving our order here. I need to wrap this up and go work on this other situation.
Sure.
So I'm just going to be a little bit brief and kind of introduce you to a program that we're bringing forward to you. I'm happy to have discussions and answer any questions about that. Could be complex, but I'm going to stay pretty high level. Before we get into that, and to add to some good news, I just thought I'd give you this little update here on the screen. You can see that our speed camera revenue has generated just over $1 million. For the first 6 months, it's anecdotal. It's not precise to the penny, but that's kind of what our information is. Outstanding fines to be collected are in the neighborhood of 600,000. That can be people that are just in arrears or have chosen, who chose not to pay, or those that are still inside the pipeline trying to get processed. So in that regard, it's been pretty successful, and certainly you've seen a lot of modifications in driver behavior. If you had the occasion to drive around some of these AVIS zones, they're certainly quite effective. So here we'll begin with the topic here is that we as a police department and to some degrees the fire department are choosing to look to migrating to Axon Technologies. They are formerly known as Taser International. That technology has really gone to a whole nother level where they expanded just beyond Taser technology to include a wide variety of assets here that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. And there are a variety of reasons why we're suggesting or really desire to move in a different direction. So to begin with, I think one of the most frequently asked questions by a body like yours would be, well, how are we going to pay for this? And what about competitive bid process? I'll defer here in just a moment to Mr. Hanlon, if you choose to talk about, and Mr. Boyd about that process. And I'll get to specifically that in just one second. So the RFP process is really not equitable in this case. Very few other vendors or contractors provide these services independent of one another. We're looking to move toward this vendor in a 10-year contract, and it's in a bundle. And so all of the assets you're going to see in just a minute are bundled together. If we were to parse that out independently, there's no other manufacturer that provides all of these services in one. And I think if we were to do that, much like buying a car, for those of us that are old enough to remember, you want electric windows or air conditioner or sunroof, those are add-ons. By the end of the day, you should have just probably upgraded to the higher level car in the first place to be cheaper. Same kind of concept here. The value and economic impacts are known up front. These are fixed costs that are fixed for 10 years. And so as inflation can impact assets, as we've seen over the years, these are fixed so that there is no opportunity for them to raise from between now and the next 10 years. And even if an inflationary rate's at 3%, when you're talking about this kind of money, that can be quite expensive. So we would be locked in at this initial price. Our contract with them does not start every time we secure a new piece of equipment. For example, we're currently using Motorola as our body-worn camera vendor. They're probably the second or third best or most used body-worn camera vendor in America. Anytime we add a new camera, so we have, let's say 27 right now, and for whatever reason, we need to add 2 more cameras for a new employee or what have you, that 5-year contract we have with them starts over for another 5 years and another 5 years. So that really could go into perpetuity if we're not careful. that doesn't really work for us. And it's been a little bit of a challenge. Customer service has been nowhere near acceptable with Motorola for a variety of reasons. They do provide our dash cameras in our patrol fleet. Again, customer service is kind of hand in hand with our body worn camera fleet. So to this end, Sourcewell and NASPO Value Point have been accepted by multiple vendors in Colorado, and they have been accepted as the contracting services of the state. So they've already been vetted by the state and have been accepted as those state entities, governmental entities can do business with without further RFP process or RFQs. And is that the best way to describe that?
Yeah.
Okay, and they have a lot more information about that than I certainly do. Again, dozens of states throughout the U.S. subscribe to Sourcewell, NASPO, and Value Point specifically for that process, vetting process up front, and then they don't have to go back through that as an entity and cost us more time and money. Both of these entities I talked to have been vetted and by Colorado's cooperative purchasing statutes, and then thereby no separate RFP is required for a move like this. I just mentioned Motorola, and that's who we're currently using. Our contract is expiring coming up here in the next several months. Our current issue with this is, well, it's not necessarily an issue, but some of the issues are that we're paying $40,000 a year for that contract and service. Again, I mentioned the additional units restart that portion of that contract to another 5 years. Customer service has been challenging at best, and then our dash cameras have really been underutilized. So with respect to prosecutions, internal affairs, administrative reviews or what have you, we've almost exclusively relied on body worn cameras. None of the dash camera footage has really been fruitful for us. It's a great asset, but it just we haven't had a need for us to use it to the extent that we thought we probably would. Right on my screen's off there. So we've been using TASER technology for many, many years. I think you heard Deputy Chief Hassel talk earlier, north of 20 years. I've personally been involved with them since 2004, my previous agency, using their technology and been to their plant and understand kind of how they work and what their customer service model has been, which has been outstanding. As you probably know, they're a global company. They were previously partnered with a variety of different individuals, but companies. In one case was Flock Safety, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. For whatever reason, they had a disagreement or falling out, and so they've separated. And so now Axon has kind of gone the way of their own APL or automated license plate recognition systems. We'll talk about that shortly. Again, bundling the services provides for value versus independent vendors, which I described. And because we would enter into a 10-year contract, that would save us approximately 19% in savings. And then again, of course, the economic forecast of no further inflationary increases. That would again lock us into today's pricing rather than looking down the road at each year every 5 years. This is time sensitive because the pricing that we do have in this package for you is valid through the end of June. So our city attorney's office and team has a lengthy contract that they're evaluating right now, so that as this process progresses, timing is of the essence for sure. Currently in Colorado, there are about 65 agencies that are using Axon technology, and 15 additional agencies are in negotiations. We are aware of who they are. They just ask that we do not divulge that information publicly. So in total, it'll be about 80 agencies. Many of those are in this region here in the Western Slope. So if we were to move, so right now we're using TASER 7. That's the latest iteration of their TASER technology that we have. They are now as TASER 10, which some of you asked questions about earlier, where you have a cartridge or we can't really call it a weapon, like a gun, or a bullet. So at the end of that, it displays the cartridges that come out of that. TASER 10 holds 10 separate barbs in there. So if we fire one and it doesn't connect, or there's a disconnect or whatever, we have the opportunity for 8 or 9 more. So that is effective when people in particular in this region are wearing heavy snow clothing, heavy jeans or whatever you have, but particularly with snow clothing, the penetration has really been an issue. Currently, our device only holds 2 cartridges at a time. And so if you miss, or there's a disconnect, or the person rolls around or does whatever, that device becomes ineffective. TASER, like most technology companies, will support what you have in your arsenal, but that's limited. At some point they stop supporting that. So we will be moving to TASER 10, whether or not we secure this contract or agree to this contract tonight. But that move costs us $72,000 just for those TASERs, that TASER group of equipment. Currently, our Motorola cameras I mentioned earlier, we're paying a fee of about $40,000 per year. When you consider officers' time that's involved in a variety of different exercises, which I can talk about shortly, that's about another 32,000, and that's on the conservative side. We have non-sworn staff that are processing body-worn cameras. So any of you come in and ask for a video for a car accident or whatever it might be, about a third of her time, if not more, is being spent on redacting those videos. We can't just hand out raw data and raw videos to anybody. We have to redact information on our computer screens that are in the cars, other license plates, witnesses. If you're in somebody's house, family pictures, college diplomas, I mean, there's a bunch of information. She has to sit there manually and redact that data for privacy concerns. So if you think about her time and about a third of her time, that's about $25,000-$30,000 in her time alone. And then as a city, we're currently spending about $20,000 on translation and language line services. This technology will allow for real-time translation, so we can eliminate these costs. Officer will have a body-worn camera on his chest or her chest, and I think there's 110 languages that it can translate as you stand there and speak to somebody at their car door, window, in their home, or whatever that might be. In other words, most of these costs are going to be absorbed into this contract that we're talking about here. We'll take those costs currently and move them into the contract, or have a savings, a net savings. So these are the products that we're talking about moving into as a suite. Of course, the body-worn cameras. Draft 1, that's an AI-produced report writing software. So as I wear a camera, if I was wearing one right now and everything I'm saying to you is being recorded, I could take it back to the police station, download everything that happened, and it writes the police report for you. Then the officer is required to review that information, make sure that it's all accurate, certifies that with a signature, and it's accepted by the courts in terms of prosecution. The interesting thing about that is the technology is such that when an officer has their report produced for them in that fashion, there's these small icons, and I think they're called Easter eggs or something to that effect, but we'll just call it Easter eggs for now. And somewhere in there, in various places, those Easter eggs are placed. So an officer can't be lazy, just have a report produced, sign his name, and send it off to the court. They actually have to go through there and clean up that AI language and make sure it's a true and accurate reflection of what occurred in that particular event. That gives us administrative oversight for a supervisor to make sure that they're reviewing those reports and it is an accurate reflection of what happened. I just mentioned to you the redaction assistant. So now I don't recall the specific number of characters, but let's say 5. I think it's 10, but we'll say 5. The operator or the clerk would, at the police department, type in, I need all license plates redacted, picture frames redacted, computer screens, and diplomas. So that that software goes through that body-worn camera and blocks all of that stuff out, or blocks it out with a block, redacts it automatically. So that'll free up that clerk's time or a non-sworn person's time or the officer's time. I mentioned to you the body-worn camera live translation service a minute ago. The DFR, which is the drone first responder for police and fire. I'll speak to that here momentarily. The Axon sidearm, single sidearm sensor. This is, again, exclusive and proprietary technology that the manufacturer provides us with a device that'll go in the officer's holster for their weapon. And as soon as the officer draws the weapon out, it activates that the weapon's been drawn, and it activates the body-worn camera automatically. So as you can imagine, being in a very high stress environment or a life-threatening event, and the officer feels the need to draw their firearm, oftentimes we don't have the forethought to activate that camera because you're focused on a threat, which you should be. This way, you don't have to worry about that camera activating, and it's already activated just by the mere fact that you drew your weapon. A lot of times in the media, you'll hear, why was there body cam footage, or where's the body cam? Well, there was none. They forgot to turn it on. In a lot of cases, that might be true because the officer's focused on this life-threatening event. This prevents that from happening. Last two more things. The VR training platform, I think we shared that with you all earlier. And then the Outpost ALPR, that's, again, the automated license plate reader system. We control all the data, legal review of language, which Mr. Hanlon can speak to if he chooses. That would replace our flock safety camera system that we currently have in the city. So there's a lot of controversy. I certainly don't need to educate you on that surrounding these cameras. And I don't know that it's the technology necessarily, but in conjunction with some of the contractual or lacking of contractual provisions that we think would be beneficial to our community are not present in that flock contract, as you're well aware. And Mr. Hanlon is reviewing the language specifically from Axon Technologies about how they're different in that regard. So we'd replace all the cameras we currently have at a cost, which I'll go over here in just a second, which I think you'll find favorable. If I can bring your attention to the top right of the screen, that's a picture of the TASER 10 with all the darts in there, the 10 different darts that I referred to earlier. The middle photograph is an officer on a car stop. That's actually a screenshot of a video that I took. I'm not in Glenwood Springs. An officer on a car stop, and you can see how the camera transcribes everything that occurred inside that traffic stop. So that's not an officer writing that. That's actually right from the body camera to the AI draft one technology. And then lastly, on the bottom right, what you're looking at there, that's the drone first responder. That hardware basically goes on the roof of, let's say, City Hall or one of our fire stations or Valley View, whatever. And it's called a hive. So the drone lives inside there and it's heated and air cooled so that we have this snow and elements here. It keeps it ready to deploy. We can deploy that remotely from a desktop or a phone or our computer screens in our patrol cars. And at response time, it's airborne within 2 minutes and has a range of 5 air miles. So we can reach pretty much anywhere in the city and can stay airborne for about 40 to 45 minutes until we land it, change batteries, and we can relaunch it. So some of the benefits to that program, again, is its fast response time. We can get somewhere like this call right now that we're working on. So there's this critical call that's happening over here in just a few blocks from us. We can send this drone over there even before police officers or firefighters are there. It can be airborne and get on top of that scene, report back to us so we can see live real time what's going on. So, you know, we get calls all the time about, you know, a car crash. We can send that drone out there to tell us, is it injury crash? Is it not? Is it fire? Do we need police? Is it false alarm? Smoke checks. We can send it for our fire department to verify if there's actually a fire or not. Last night, you may not know, we had a stabbing right behind Harbor Freight on the trail there, the bike trail. Just to the west, I guess, of that bike trail by about 10 yards, there's a mountain bike trail, a little dirt path. And a gentleman was walking there with his dog last night, and they approached a couple gentlemen sitting on a little mound. Dog did what dogs do, went up and smelled these two folks, and then they kept walking. And the man noticed that they were starting to follow him. It's about dusk time. He turned around and said, "Hey, you know what? Can I help you? Or what's going on?" He felt weird that these two guys were following him, and they said, "Yeah, we don't like your dog smelling us. This is where we sleep, and this is our house. We don't appreciate your dog intruding on our little space here." And they went at him with a knife, and the man tried to defend himself and was stabbed through the hand. Right here, he lost his cell phone, ran to his uncle's pizza, right, South Grand, right there. And then they called the police. So by the time I went over there, I was already at home. I came back out. It was dark. Those two suspects fled north on that trail. So had we had this technology, we could launch that drone and track down where they are potentially. It does have infrared vision. And then, of course, with our VR, our night vision goggles you saw earlier, that is also another tool that could help us penetrate that brush and try to track these individuals down. So these are some of the examples that we would use that for. There is an audit trail, which could be subject to core records and public records requests, much like our cameras are. Deployment. So this is specific. They're not just out flying around our skies of Glenwood, you know, flying over somebody's barbecue in their backyard and taking photos. It's dispatched by when we decide we need to dispatch that, or firefighters. And then I think most of you, I hope, saw those 5 video links that the city manager provided to you about the autistic 12-year-old boy, some fires, and some other things that went on. So that just demonstrates some of that technology that we would be employing here. I'm almost finished. Migrating to the outpost cameras. So again, those are like the flock cameras that we currently have. Our current line item budget for that is $58,000 a year. We got in early, so we had specialized pricing, but now next year that pricing is going up to $66,000 roughly for the 19 cameras that we currently have. If we choose to move to this technology, our camera pricing is locked in again at 10 years at $36,000, not the $66,000 that we would be paying for flock, and which amounts to basically a 45% decrease in our current expenditures. And that will be in addition, that number here, this outpost camera is not part of the total package. So this came in at about $2.4 million. This adds about 300,000 to that out the door at that 10-year price. So they're giving us a discount of $28,251 per year should we choose to lock in at that 10-year contract. This can be a little confusing, so I'd ask you not to pay a whole lot of attention to this one. But basically, we're using about 8,000 minutes a year for dictation services. So essentially, an officer goes to a domestic violence or robbery or whatever, they go behind the store or the library or in the police department, they get on a recorder and they record their police report into their phone or whatever device they're using. From there, that gets sent to a dictation service. We have a typist that we pay for to do that work that I outlined earlier. They send that report back to the officer, they screen it, make sure it's legitimate, and they import it into our report writing system. Draft one tech dictation services will bring a savings to us at about $6,700 per year. Just by this draft, this AI report writing that I talked about earlier. The one on the right, actually, it says average of 5.25 seconds. That should be 5.25 minutes per report. And that's on the fast side. Our typist, our contract tells us that they feel that the average person types about 40 words per minute. Those of you who were in high school and we used typewriters a while back, that's probably generous. I think most of our staff, they're not clerks. I think they're probably in the 20 word per minute range. But if you figure that, just taking that number for what it is at $50 an hour, that's $17,000 savings. Evidence.com is where all of this stuff is stored on the cloud. So it's not an internal database or server inside our department. Again, there's pretty specific language that the city attorney's office has in our contract to talk about who has access to that, how we control that data and access. And then we provide permissions to who we choose to provide permissions to. And in this case, it'd be exclusively with the DA's office or another regional law enforcement agency for criminal prosecution. Access to those records with nefarious reasons is certainly a crime. In Colorado, it's a misdemeanor crime. And then we go there, and then our credentials would be at risk if we chose not to honor that. And in the county area here, we have the Sheriff's Office, Newcastle, and Rifle Police Department are already online. Beside us, there are two other agencies that are currently in discussions to migrate over to Axon Technologies. So with that, a lot of information. I apologize. I'm talking a little quickly, but I want to get the information to you and not bog you down, and then we can address these other situations we have going on in the city right now. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for all the information and all your numbers and everything. I think it's all good. So any questions to Chief tonight? Start with Councilor Townsley.
Just two real quick questions. I know you want to get out of here, three. When we go into this contract and costs can't go up, I'm assuming those technology changes 5 years from now, they come up with the next greatest best thing that's not covered. We then also have to spend money on that, whatever that turns out to be, if we wanted to add something to it.
No, sir. Thank you for bringing that up. That's an oversight on my part. No, so that's built into the contract. So as Taser 10 goes to Taser 11, that's part of the contract. Or the body worn camera version or iteration we currently have is body worn camera 4. So if they move into a 5, then at halfway through the contract at year 5, they do a complete replacement to us at no cost.
Okay, good. Perfect. That's good.
That does not include the drone technology. As those 5 years of that, I think it's 2.5 years for that. We keep that technology, we keep that hardware, and then they replace it with new technology. So we could multiply that fleet of drones should we need them. And if I can add on to that, one thing I failed to mention is part of that drone technology I showed you in there. I didn't show you the smaller version. It's like a handheld device that we can have that can go inside of a home. So like right now we have the situation over there. We can put a drone inside that residence, fly it inside and find where victims are at, or where the suspect's at, and give us a better idea than actually putting live police officers in there and in a dynamic entry facing a violent confrontation. So that's been used by our county SWAT team several times recently. And so that also is included in part of this. And to your point about me being in a hurry, it's nothing personal. We got other things. We got to take a look at it.
Totally understand. The other piece I've got in question is, there's been a lot of public comment on flock cameras and whatnot. And we said, okay, well, we're kind of waiting to see what comes out of the State House and whatnot. If we're doing this, are we adding to a contract that we're going to commit to that if for some reason the council decides we don't want to do flock cameras anymore, or, for whatever reason, have we committed to a contract for 10 years of flock cameras that what if the citizens say we don't want these in our city?
So I'll answer the first part and ask Mr. Hanlon to chime in. So there is a contract provision here that, just like flock, if the city does not allocate the funding for that, that's our out to invalidate that contract for that piece of equipment.
Just that piece of equipment. It wouldn't invalidate everything else.
Yes, sir. Is that true, Carl?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think there are opportunities. The way the contract is structured, each one of these is kind of parsed out, each one of the technologies that's being deployed. So I think that we could individually work with that piece. What I would comment on is I've done a little bit of work with Axon in other jurisdictions. It's a very different experience than working with the flock team in terms of the quality of the contracts, the detail of the contracts, the way they handle data. All of that is just significantly different between the two agencies. But from a standpoint of kind of picking and choosing, if we need to drop one piece of technology, I think we can do that.
Okay. And then lastly, real quick, I think that not necessarily how I feel personally, but from a lot of other people's comments, if we're going to do anything drone wise where there's a surveillance capability, along with Flock, it seems like there should be public comment period before we move on. I don't know how we do that and still keep you moving forward on what you need to do from your timeframes, but maybe that's something that needs to be looked at fairly quickly. Those are my comments.
Yeah, I would
questions.
just comment, because Chief and I were just talking about it in another context, that currently fire and police both have drones that are usable. The biggest difference between what we have now and this is we can't deploy them nearly as fast.
No, I think
because
I personally think this is great. I just
Yeah.
think that.
No,
We're gonna look at it from a different standpoint.
Yeah,
I wanna have that.
and I guess what I guess my point in that is that it's been something that we've been using in the fire, particularly in the fire context, for some period of time.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
Just, and correct me, Carl, if I'm wrong, but if we sign this contract today, it would start in 2027, right? That would give us time when it's not live. And I think that if you guys did decide to change your minds, the non-appropriations clause would allow us to drop that part of the contract. As a matter of practice, they'll let us out. They don't want a lot of angry customers.
Right. Thank you. Counselor Smith, please.
Thank you. A slight variation of Councilor Townsley's questions and things that you touched on several times. The control of the information, whether from your body cameras, your drone surveillance, your car cameras, if you continue to use them, this evidence.com. How does the contract or our own policies protect and keep that information control, the sharing of that information controlled?
I think it's I'm going to read a lot of stuff to you guys, so just bear with me. If you'll remember, Section 5 of the Master Services Agreement with Flock, and the my favorite line of "we can share it for any reason that we deem as reasonable" kind of thing. The corollary in their standard Master Services Agreement is customer controls and owns all right, title, and interest in customer content, except as outlined herein. Axon obtains no interest in customer content, and customer content is not Axon's business records. Customer is solely responsible for uploading, sharing, managing, and deleting customers' content. Axon will only have access to customer content for the limited purposes set forth herein. The customer agrees to allow Axon access to customer content to A, perform troubleshooting, maintenance, or diagnostic screenings, and to enforce this agreement. So you'll note that is significantly different than the corollary paragraph from Flock. And then as you move through this, depending on the technology, Chief and I were just talking about it before the meeting, there is a requirement for you, they in their contracts have a positive requirement for the customer to have developed policies to address all of those things that you just outlined. So just the kind of the format and thought process that this goes through is much more detailed and much more putting, that onus on you as the customer. Need to know how you're dealing with your data and have policies in place to deal with that and manage that. And so, for instance, from the standpoint of, while the legislation didn't pass this term, I think we will still see something on ALPRs. That is on us to have established a clear policy for how we will use our data relative to other agencies or relative to our community. So it's very much our choice, not the vendor's choice on how we do that.
Thank you.
I'd suggest also, Mr. Hanlon can chime in here as well. These large portions of this data are criminal justice records. And so the accessibility to those records is very, very limited in scope outside of a court order. So in that regard, we just can't provide these records without clear law enforcement nexus. And again, to my point I mentioned earlier, that if we did violate that or had an officer or staff member violate, then we are subject to sanctions from CBI and losing our potential credentials to operate any of those law enforcement systems, which are nationwide.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
So I wanted to ask, it's my understanding that Axon, do they do any other like private or commercial, or are they purely a law enforcement provider?
I don't know if I'm in a position to answer that. I can tell you my experience has been strictly law enforcement or governmental focused. Having been to their plant, that was my experience there. I don't want to commit to that because I don't know if they have
Understood.
side,
Understood.
but I think primarily it's law enforcement and
Okay.
governmental.
Because it's my understanding that's like one of the big distinctions between Flock, which does a lot of other kind of.
Private commercial for sure.
Exactly. And then this is a little bit more specific. So I think that in addition to the concerns that have already been raised, would be a little bit reassuring to the community and how this is managed.
Yes, I believe that's the case.
Thank you. Counselor Schachter, please.
Thank you. Just some clarification and a comment. One, staff recommends approval of the sole source purchase. Because it's become sensitive and because it's public safety, are we being asked to do something that's normally a internal budgeting decision between you and the chief?
Well, I mean, technically, we wouldn't have to take it out to bid, right? I mean, we could just go and do this and we wouldn't need a resolution or anything. We would still want you guys to know. I mean, this is a big ticket item
Right.
and Counselor Townsley is right. I mean, there are going to be some people that are uncomfortable with it. There's no question about that. So I think the answer is no, we're not doing anything differently than we normally would, other than have a resolution, you know, that you guys would actually vote on. But that, I think, is the only difference.
And my next comment, and I don't know exactly what Counselor Townsley meant. When it comes to this issue, my concern is not to ask the public, but to inform the public. Because if we start asking about these types of things, I don't know who we're going to get represented. So I understand we have till 2027 to kind of inform them why we're doing that. That would be my call rather than asking permission. That's my observation of and not knowing who is here in the room versus who's out there. So I don't want to suppress information, but I don't want to be in a position where I'm asking whether we can do this myself.
I'm gonna let that slide. It was a comment, but it should have
Oh,
been a
sorry.
question. It's all good. We're gonna get to a motion and then maybe we can discuss it. No more questions? No, quick question. Do
Yes, sir.
drones fly at night?
I'm sorry?
The drones fly at night?
Yes, they do.
Really?
Because they have the
You can
infrared-
deploy those at night and
Infrared technologies on board
Wow.
on that aircraft, yes.
cool. And no more dash cams. Is that correct?
That's right. Again, that's an expense. We just don't find the value and return on our investment for that, so we would be removing those.
And since you have a camera right there, that's
That's correct. Yes,
that's
sir.
great. Okay. Excellent. If I see no more question, we'll ask the public quick to see if we have any input. See none, we'll close that portion and we'll get it to Mayor Pro Tem Selinsky, please.
So I move to approve resolution 2026-09, which is the sole source for police body cameras and related technology.
Excellent, thank you. We have a motion to approve. I need a second so we can move on. Councilor Weimer?
Approved, seconded.
Excellent, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? See none, call for the question. Well, oh, last minute. God, okay. Councilor Townsley.
So it just to respond to
Yeah.
Sumner, you know, I'm not saying that we should tell or not tell. I just think that we should have an open conversation, or at least give people a chance to comment on it before as we move forward. So do we ask somebody's permission or do we ask them if they want to do it? Not necessarily, but I think we have a forum where somebody can come up if they do have comments and let us know what they think.
There'll be a second reading, right?
No is a resolution.
There won't be, but we didn't get a resolution in the packet for a variety of reasons. So there will be one on your consent, a formal resolution on your consent agenda.
Okay,
next-
because
next meeting.
because just to point out, this is the forum. Tonight would have been it. But
No.
people don't pay attention a lot to our agenda. So yes, there should be some sort of a public information. Maybe it can be part of the 10th. I don't know. But I agree. But tonight is actually their chance to weigh in on.
Mr. Mayor, I think that the 10th, right, a kind of public safety check-in, I think is something that we're going to do more of. And I think that we would be wise to do a lot of education in the public.
Absolutely.
For the most part, I mean, it's going to be a small number of people that object, but most people will feel more safe for good
100%.
reason.
No,
right?
I agree. I agree that everything that's been said. Absolutely. We need to educate. There's no doubt. Mayor Pro Tem Selinsky.
So since there isn't a resolution in the packet and it will be on the next meeting's agenda, would it be possible to put it on, rather than in consent, put it on the regular agenda, which then would open up that opportunity?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then that way, if you have, members of the community that you think would have particular interest, we can give them a heads up.
Yeah, and really, Steve and I went back and forth on whether we should have this conversation and have the resolution on tonight, or if it was a deep enough conversation that this was more education and then the action was the next one. So however that works. is great.
I think that, in my experience, sentiment changes with the times, and I think we're in a time of heightened awareness of these issues, and so we should be sensitive to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like an ongoing, like always, but I think right now, I think it behooves us to recognize that.
If I may, then maybe we just withdraw the motion and we come back with the formal resolution at the next meeting.
I was just
That
gonna ask
works.
that. Does this even make sense to
Yep.
move forward tonight? Okay.
So as you guys think about this, if you have other questions or ideas, or, if you would let me know, just so we can make sure that we're ready with answers.
Okay, can you guys do me a favor and officially withdraw that motion,
Aye.
please? Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
So it's all clear.
You missed it.
Well, the truth were known. I told John Hassel to go on and make that happen. So I give me an excuse to
Yeah.
get on out of here in a quick.
Yeah. So you just wanted to get
Go
it.
go enjoy your dinner, right?
So
Okay,
I amend my motion
just
to
withdraw.
continue this to the next, don't we continue it?
I would withdraw it. Then it's clean.
Yeah, either way.
Okay,
Just withdraw the motion. We'll see you next
Right.
meeting.
Okay, that's what I'm doing then.
okay. Thank you. And,
You actually do that, Counselor Zelinski or Mayor Pro Tem?
just say it again,
I move to withdraw my motion.
or just, I
To
withdraw,
approve.
I withdraw my motion.
I move to withdraw your motion. Perfect.
No more moving.
Don't know that you can.
Oh, you don't want to withdraw your second? Okay, can we just?
You don't want
move-
to speak?
Can we just move forward, please?
Did you misspeak?
You told me I did. Brian's like.
Council Wyman.
This meeting last.
I heard.
Okay, withdraw my
Withdraw your
second.
second.
Say it.
Yes, I withdraw my seat.
Thank you. It has now been withdrawn. No formal action tonight, and we'll see it again, first meeting in June.
Thank you
Councilor
all.
Doctor.
I have a question. It's not normal. Normally, we rely perhaps a little naively on the public to come here based on the minutes or the agenda that's posted. I'm wondering if we truly want the opportunity for people to talk about this, if that's what we want, do we put something out separate or not? No?
I guess my only comment would be is that then you are gonna have to start picking which things you think are the ones that the public really wants to know about, and you push that one harder, and then something that you didn't push hard, the public
You
comes
get
in and
grief
said,
for it.
how come I didn't know about it? You didn't,
Leave it alone.
I know it's a no-win for you guys on communications, but
Thank you.
Okay, but no action tonight on this. Thank you. Thanks for the
Thank you all.
information. Thanks, guys, for chiming in. And we'll see you next month, for formal action. Okay, excellent. Back to item 8, ordinance 2026-10 municipal code 080040 water regulation updates. And since Matt is not here, I think Carl's gonna jump in.
I'm gonna play Matt tonight. You have in front of you an ordinance to codify water regulations that we've had in place underneath the city manager's authority since 2018. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Since we all read the packet, we should know what's going on. Councilor Wyman?
Just to split a hair on this, in a lot of other places, I see something special happening on the 31st of a month. Where either nobody waters
Hmm.
or everybody waters.
We have not done that over time, and it seems to be working okay. And it's,
Throwing it out there.
yeah, it's just has never seemed to really be an issue as far as we can tell. So, and the other thing I would say is that everybody is really used to the rhythm now. So I don't know that I would change it because it's actually been in place for 8 years.
It's not up for you to decide whether to change it or not, Mr. Webb.
That's a fair point.
Just asking a question.
I guess I would respectfully say that changing it, given that our community is used to the pattern at this point, would be a re-education process.
Noted. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
I would like to make a motion.
Oh, we have a motion, please.
since there's no public in the room, I'm
Right.
going to make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-10 municipal code 080.040 water regulation update.
Excellent. Motion to approve.
Could
Looking
I
for,
actually have you read the entire title to the ordinance?
that was it.
I
That's all we
did.
have.
Oh, that's all you guys had?
That's all we got.
So you make Carl mad, he makes you read the time.
Now it's not me. That's all I had, Carl.
Okay,
That's all we got. All right, we have a motion to approve. Well, it's 2026-10. Council Townsley,
I second.
and a second. Any more discussion on this, or is there anything you want to add, Carl, to the title?
no, you're good.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Selinsky.
I am simply going to make a comment that I think this is completely appropriate. I've already had several people ask me about clarification on this. So people are already thinking water schedule, water responsibility. So I think this is completely appropriate. And I think to also stress that this is not restrictions. This is a schedule and responsible water usage.
Absolutely. And probably the thing that I should have added is the city manager retains authority under the code as they do currently in particularly dry times, if there is an emergency, those kinds of things to further restrict water usage. And we have implemented that most recently during the 2020 Grizzly Creek fires when we went to an in-house use only for a period of time while we were dealing with issues both in Grizzly Creek and with sedimentation in the Roaring Fork. So that remains available. But what we have found is that our citizenry is fantastic about conservation on their own, and that the watering schedule is something that has worked incredibly well for those purposes, and kind of encouraging people in terms of the times that they use that water as well too. That's been more effective than being really hardcore about restrictions, because our history is in 2002, the last time we implemented mandatory restrictions citywide, our usage went up.
Right. Okay, thank you. I see no more comments. Council Townsley.
So I would just comment that I also think that, and it's been a while, so I don't even know if this is current or not, but you know, when it's raining out hard and the parks are have all the sprinklers going, or they're going at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I hope we're just being cognizant of that. And, you know, if we're asking of the citizens, and it may be that we already are, but I know that used to be something you'd see kind of.
Yeah,
occasionally.
we have turned almost all of them over to an automated system, so we know what's happening. You're right, that is a horrible look, and every time it happened, I just cringed. So we will try to prevent that from happening.
Okay, excellent. I'll call for the question. Motion is to approve, by the way. So
It passes unanimous.
okay, thank you, Ryan. I think that concludes our actions and or presentations. Moving into council comments, we'll start with Councilor Townsley. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Selinsky, mic on.
I have two, and I've forgotten one of them already because my brain is a colander. The first one is I talked to City Manager Steve Boyd earlier tonight about asking staff to pursue what it would look like to have bear-proof containers in all of Glenwood Springs instead of just like have that be optional. We've already had a pretty significant bear season. One bear has already had to be euthanized, which breaks my heart. And there's another little bear in my neighborhood that being nicknamed Mohawk, and he is definitely going down that path. And so, you know, that's a pretty sobering reality. And I think that the onus is on us to take the steps necessary to protect our wildlife. And so I'm hoping that we can find something that works for everybody.
So are you asking for a work session with more information, or?
I guess that would be, I think, probably the process. I think staff is going to pursue that. Becca Cass with CPW is going to help me with gathering some information that other neighboring communities are doing that have already implemented that policy. And so we can see how we can bring that forth.
So can I get a head nod if we're all in favor of this? Okay, excellent.
Okay,
Or
cool.
most of us in favor of it, I should say.
Thank you.
Okay, good. So we'll do that.
Oh, and then the other thing is, I think they'd be interested to check in with our tourism community to find out right now with the construction that's going on in Glenwood Canyon, it's creating delays similar to what we had kind of post Grizzly Creek fire. And I know at one point there was kind of a bit of a messaging issue where people were changing their reservations, changing their plans because of the delays. And so I didn't know if we're experiencing similar things or if there's any way to find out about that or if we should do anything proactive. So I wanted to kind of, I don't know how long that construction in the canyon is going on, but we're going into our kind of big season and I think that could have potential negative impacts. So I wanted to bring that forth also.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Smith.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody who worked on it, city manager and the city clerk in particular, working out the notion at our last meeting of delivering periodic calendars of upcoming topics for city council meetings and for city council work sessions. When will we get the first edition of those and how often will we get them?
We'll get an agenda out, let's see, a week from tomorrow, probably. And we'll have it on that. We're going to talk about it during all of our agenda meetings, but I'll send that out maybe once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you both. He's not here, which is too bad, but between now and the city council's next meeting, we will wave farewell to Rod Tarullo off to retirement. And for what it's worth to the ethers or otherwise, I think it's worth a moment to appreciate the kind of leadership and personal style that he has brought for 3 years to that department. I think he's added to the visibility and the efficiency and the just the inviting performance of the Parks and Recreation program in a way that real people can find tangible. He has a style that can deal with people who are insistent and demanding and people who are feet dragging and slow. And he finds that path in between there just as a leadership style that is, I find, very commendable and has been refreshing to work with. So wherever he is, thank you to Rod for the good service to this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Sharp.
Yes, I'd like to. pass
Microphone,
along-
microphone.
oh, Sorry.
Thank
I'd like
you.
to pass along huge kudos to Watkins and Bree and our whole community development group. And with help from the chamber, there was a housing presentation done primarily Spanish language with English interpretation. The best turnout of our Latino population I have ever seen in the time I've been here, with extremely effective communication by our staff, by the visitors, and well received, and probably indicates a gateway for more of that. But it was an outstanding evening and presentation. They did a great job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Weimer. You're okay. Okay. Just real quick, on May 14th, we did a ribbon cutting on North Landing and 6th Street. It was a great little ceremony. Like I said, that evening, please make your way over to North Glenwood, check it out. The improvements are impressive. The new area is a wonderful addition to Glenwood Springs. And check out the businesses, check out the park benches. They're specifically designed to form the curve of the grass. It is really, really nice. It is a wonderful space that we have created, and I think everybody should go check it out. So please do. So with that,
May I segue on that a second? On 6th Street?
just because it's you.
Oh, I just want to add that the Garden Club is doing an annual garden tour this year. I think it's maybe next Saturday, I forget the date, but 6th Street, with the cooperation of Parks and Rep, will be one of the gardens visited with information about all the
Oh,
plantings.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
City manager, please.
Yeah, Rod's last day is going to be, I think, first day of June. We hired him a while ago, and when we did, I felt really lucky. He's a seasoned and, professional public servant, and I hope to get 2 years out of that, before he moved on. We got more than that, so I'm grateful for that. We knew this was coming. I think when we put the job out, we'll have at least a couple of internal candidates. I've asked Tim Bergman to step in the meantime and be intern and just kind of help me take inventory on how things are going and what's working and what's not. And so, yeah, Rod, I'm sure you're not listening, but if you were, I would like you to hear that we enjoyed working with you very much, and we appreciate it, and you'll be missed. Second thing, last thing, CDOT has a company that they have now certified that will clean up the highways and interstates, and it's like the adopt a road thing. It's $27,000 for the first year, and it would be $22,000 going forward. That would get us from South Canyon to the 116. I'm going to try to negotiate out to No Name, but I don't know if I can do that. That's about 5 miles. And I think the plan that I'm thinking about would be to get 5 signs if we can. Maybe we leave City of Glenwood Springs on for one of those. And then we would offer the opportunity for some of our friends to, you know, put their names on the rest if we just carve up the cost. So it wouldn't be a nominal expense to us, but it wouldn't be terrible. And that would get a cleanup once a month.
So it's like a sponsorship,
Yeah.
but you don't have to do it.
Oh,
It's a sponsorship, your name's up. I mean, that's not a bad idea.
so that's what I'm looking into. If anybody has a strong objection or whatever, but that's the direction we're thinking about headed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
You said once a month?
Once a month. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
more expensive the first year because they'll do a really deep dive the
Right.
first time around.
Right.
So that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Any correspondence, Mr. Muse?
It's like,
Oh, yeah, you already talked so much. I'm like, okay, hang on. City Attorney, Carl.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
it's
handle
gonna
it.
be a
Please,
filibuster.
sorry about
No,
that.
Which is a good segue to, just want a quick update. You know, we had talked briefly about a potential lobbying trip back to DC.
Yeah.
To talk about the mine. We have been able to secure a meeting at White House Intergovernmental with a senior person there. So that's a great thing. That's going to be happening the week of the next council meeting in June. Our meeting's on the 3rd. We're going to have some congressional meetings with Hurd, the senators, as well as potentially Rep. Neguse, just because he is integral on a couple of the natural resource committees, and trying to get a meeting scheduled at BLM, as well as Interior. So it's going to be a busy couple of days. Thank you to Steve and Aaron, Mayor Pro Tem, for making that trip. And we've also, on behalf of the Citizens Alliance, as well as being a former member of this body, and there at the beginning, former Mayor Gamba is going to join us as well for the meetings at the White House. So that's kind of that going on. And then, am I remembering incorrectly, but isn't this Hazardous Waste Weekend and Compost
Oh, yeah, it is.
on this Saturday? Yeah, no, I just was thinking about that because I was kind of planning on going. So anyway, that's the fun part of my report, is you can get some compost this weekend.
Which I think means that the landfill is closed and it moves to the community center parking lot to collect all the hazardous waste. Yeah.
I think between 9 a.m. and 2, right? It's not all day.
it's not all.
Yeah, it's like 9 to
Right.
2.
Which, thank you for the comments, Carl, and June 3rd was our breakfast. We're gonna have to reschedule. So we'll leave that up to Steve to take care of that.
That'll be another doodle poll.
Okay, sounds good.
How do we,
Wait a minute.
how do we pay for these DC trips? Just curious.
We usually use city manager discretionary.
Okay.
I mean, we also, from the standpoint of there's almost always some cushion in the legal budget. We historically have always come in fairly under, as well as we have, on this particular issue, we have $1 million set aside.
For a trip to DC?
No. Yeah.
Yes, you wanna go in that much?
For the opposition to the mine. So in terms of, you put it in the context of all of those things that we're doing along that.
Thank you for clarity.
And let me clarify a little bit further. Carl had reminded me of this. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about this. The $1 million he's referring to is a separate line item in the budget.
Right,
General
correct.
fund. That's what.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, all good? Everybody good? No more? Okay, excellent. Ryan, any correspondence?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Solinsky announces the social event
We're gonna
gathering.
Go back to Old Faithful and hit docs.
Okay, sounds great. Docs it is. I am entertaining a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
So move to adjourn. Need a second? You want to stay? Councilor Ryan?
Second, please.
Okay, motion in a second, and I have to call for the question, please.
Right.
We're all new.
Well, it's a light night. It's an easy night. So, okay,
Actually asleep?
call for the question.
waiting for us to go. Actually asleep. You can pull out of your chair.
It passes